Welcome to my podcast, Life with Denise, sharing inspiring conversations and heartfelt wisdom. Follow online at denisepettit.com, YouTube at Denise Pettit, and Instagram at Denise Pettit. Picture this. It's 2019. You're 24 years old. You've got a job that pays just enough to feel comfortable, a group chat that pings constantly, and plans every single weekend. You think you're thriving. Now fast forward 5 years. Same person, completely different life. Different city, different career, different energy. What changed? Nobody asks that question the right way. They ask what changed. The city, the job, the gym routine. But the real answer, the one that actually explains everything, is simpler and a little bit more uncomfortable. The friends changed. I'm Denise, and this is Life with Denise. Today, we're talking about one of the most quietly powerful forces in your life, your inner circle. Because there's an old saying that I think most of us hear, maybe nod at, and completely ignore. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. I think I'm going to start all over, but I'm not going to start the thingy over. Picture this. It's 2019. You're 24 years old. You've got a job that pays just enough to feel comfortable, a group chat that pings constantly, and plans every single weekend. You think you're thriving. Now fast forward 5 years. Same person, completely different life. Different city, different career, different energy. What changed? Nobody asks that question the right way. They ask what changed. The city, the job, the gym routine. But the real answer, the one that actually explains everything, is simpler and maybe a little bit uncomfortable. The friends changed. I'm Denise, and this is Life with Denise. And today, we're talking about one of the most quietly powerful forces in your life. Your inner circle, because there's an old saying that I think most of us hear and completely ignore. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Today, we're going to find out why that saying isn't just a motivational poster. It's basically neuroscience. Let me tell you about a guy named Johnny. Johnny grew up in a mid-sized city, average everything, average grades, average ambitions, and a decent enough outlook on life. At 18, he fell into a friend group that worked hard, read books, talked about ideas at dinner instead of just complaining about their bosses. He didn't really even notice it happening. And that's the thing. You may never notice it. It never feels like it's a curriculum. It feels like you're just hanging out. But by 25, Johnny had started a small business, read more books than he had in his entire life before that, and he just couldn't stop thinking in terms of goals. Not because someone sat him down and said, be ambitious, but because ambition was just something that there was in those conversations. His friends had an invisible curriculum, and he graduated from it without ever signing up. And here's where it gets interesting and maybe a little sciencey. There's a researcher named Nicholas Christakis. He's a social scientist at Yale. He and his colleague, James Fowler, spent years studying how behaviors spread through social networks. And what they found might surprise you. It's genuinely wild. You know, it says that happiness is contagious up to 3 degrees of separation. Wow, can you believe that? Meaning that your friend's friend's friend can influence how happy you feel. You've never met this person. They don't even know you exist, and yet they're influencing you. But there's a darker flip side of that coin. So is unhappiness affecting you. So is pessimism. So is the belief that nothing ever really changes for people like us. Your friend group isn't just your social life, it's a broadcast signal, and you're constantly receiving it. You've probably heard Jim Rohn's famous line, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." It's one of those quotes that kind of gets slapped on Instagram graphics between pictures of sunsets. And because of that, I think we've stopped actually thinking about it. So let's take a moment to think about it. Well, first of all, the part that's true. Humans are wired for mimicry. There's a reason babies learn language by watching someone's mouth. There's a reason that you unconsciously start using phrases that your partner uses, laughing at things that your best friends laugh at, caring about things that people around you seem to care about. We mirror. It's not a weakness, it's just how we're built. Researchers actually call this social contagion. The behaviors, the attitudes, and even the vocabulary of the people closest to you become kind of like a default setting. You absorb their standards, their relationship with money, their tolerance for mediocrity or discomfort. Now here's the part the Instagram version leaves out. You don't have to like someone for them to influence you. You just have to be around them. That coworker who complains every single day at lunch, maybe that friend who always has a reason why things just won't work out. You can still love them. You can want good things for them, but they can still be slowly recalibrating your internal compass in the direction of their limitations. That's not about being cold. So let's talk about it this way. Imagine with me a high school cafeteria, 2 tables, 10 feet apart, and we're going to call one table A. And at table A, the conversation is mostly about what other people are doing wrong. Teachers are unfair. Life is rigged. The best you can hope for is to get through it and maybe not get in too much trouble. And then over at table B, there's the same school, the same zip code, same opportunities. But the conversation is different. It's not naive. It's not preachy. It's just forward thinking, forward facing. Questions like, what are you going to do this summer? Have you looked into that program? What do you actually want? And 10 years later, you can almost predict the outcome. Not perfectly, because life isn't a simple equation. But directionally, you'd be right more often than you'd be wrong. Because it's not just about what each table was saying. It's about what each table was practicing. Those kids at table A were practicing complaint. They were getting really, really good at seeing limitations in the ceiling. The kids over at table B were practicing possibility. Not blind optimism, but possibility. The quiet, habitual assumption that the future is something that you can actually have a say in. And this is a part that can be a little heartbreaking. Most people just never choose their table. They just sit down where someone makes space for them. And then they usually stay because switching tables feels rude, feels like abandonment, feels like you're better than someone. But here's a question. What has your table been practicing? You know, I don't think the answer to all of this is to go home and fire your friends like a bad intern. That's not what this episode is about. Life is messier than that. And some of your oldest friends are your oldest friends because they've been through things with you that nobody else has. You've been through life together. You've experienced things. And that matters. It doesn't just disappear. But I think there's another question worth asking. Not, should I just drop this person? But instead, am I growing in this relationship or am I shrinking? Because relationships do one of two things. They either expand you, they challenge you, they celebrate your wins without jealousy, they tell you hard truths with kindness, or they contract you, they pull you back toward older, smaller versions of yourself. They're comfortable with you being stuck because movement makes them nervous. Here's a little diagnostic. Think about your 3 or 4 closest people right now. After you spend time with them, do you feel more like yourself or less? Do you leave conversations feeling energized, curious, seen, valued? Or do you feel vaguely drained, vaguely guilty for wanting more, to change? Do they talk about ideas and people and dreams? Or do they mostly talk about other people's problems? There's really no right or wrong answer here. This is just information. And here's the thing about upgrading your circle. You don't always have to lose people to gain better ones. Sometimes the upgrade is you becoming someone who attracts different energy. You change, and the people you spend time with naturally shift too. Not because you ghosted anyone, but because growth creates a new gravity. You start going to a new class, meet someone who becomes a close friend. You join a community around something that you care about. You reach out to someone you admire and just start a conversation. And slowly and organically, the composition of your inner circle evolves. There's also this. Some people in your life are growing too. Maybe you haven't noticed because you've been so focused on their limitations that you miss their trajectory. Your future isn't just about who you surround yourself with. It's also about who you call out the best in. Because the people who grow because of your presence, well, they'll grow with you. We started with a 24-year-old who thought they were thriving. But then their friends changed. Their future changed with them. Your future isn't being written somewhere out there in the economy, in luck, in timing. It's being written right now in the small, invisible, daily influence of the people who have access to your most unguarded self. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. Not because the saying is catchy, but because the people around you are constantly, quietly, lovingly, or not so lovingly, telling you what's possible. The question is, are you listening? And more importantly, do you like what they're saying? Share this episode with a friend, not to tell them something, but maybe just to start a conversation. I'm Denise, and this is Life with Denise. I'll see you next time, and remember, choose your friends wisely. Thank you for listening to Life with Denise, sharing inspiring conversations and heartfelt wisdom. Follow online at denisepettit.com, YouTube at Denise Pettit, Instagram at Denise Pettit. See you next time.